Today, I'm going to try to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Scarlet with only new Paldean region Pokemon. And what can I say? Gen 9 is here, and I'm ridiculously excited to play through these games. Not having played them before, I expect that this will be quite a challenge, but operating with only Gen 9 Pokemon should be a ton of fun. Normally, we'd go over our possible encounters here for our single type runs, but since all new Pokemon are available and I don't want to spoil them for myself, let's just get right into it. Can we beat Pokemon Scarlet with only the first new Pokemon we find in each route or area, no items in battle, level caps in place to match the gym leader's Pokemon, and no preemptive switching, aka a self-imposed set mode on at all times? Alright, we're off on our adventure through the brand new Paldea region. Already at the outset, we're seeing a lot of new Pokemon in the intro screen. Man oh man. It was at this point that I kind of realized I won't know how to use these Pokemon nor how to battle against them because I remain spoiler free until this playthrough, but hey, we're gonna give this a shot. In our home, oh my word. Okay, sorry guys. Anyway, some weird dude then breaks into our house and, well, you know what? Honestly, you can take whatever you want, man. This is a man after my own heart, as I am the biggest advocate of Premier Balls ever. They're just so cool. I see they still haven't changed the standard Game Freak "here's this invisible item" animation. Never change. We then get to run around with this region's starters, I guess to kind of get a sense as to which one we like. Pretty cool. I hosted a poll on my community tab asking what we should do in terms of starters, and over 40,000 of you voted. Now, Quaxley just kind of ignored me when I tried to talk to it, Sprigatito was very cordial and said hello, and Fuecoco, well, he punched me in the damn face. I think I know who we're picking. That's right, I'm going with the Fire Starter. I'm notorious for never picking these. In fact, none of the fire starters in Pokemon are my favorite of any generation, so I'm gonna take a gamble here. I nickname him Jack, and Jack, old buddy, we're gonna cause a hell of a lot of trouble in the region, aren't we? Down by the beach, we meet who I assume is our rival, Nemona, and Google Docs won't stop auto-correcting her name to Pneumonia, by the way. And fortunately enough, she picks the starter that's weak to yours, and we already have Ember, so we managed through this battle quite easily. Wait a minute, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Jack? There is only one Mr. Jack that I recognize. Up ahead in the first area, we have a kind of forced encounter as we find a Lechonk. What a mimi boy he is. This is technically our first encounter of the area, so I catch him and nickname him Conba. Checking our Pokemon natures up ahead, it turns out Jack has a calm nature giving him plus special defense stats and minus attack, and Conba has a quiet plus special attack and minus speed nature. Not knowing what these Pokemon are good at, I'm not sure if these are good, but minus speed is almost never a good thing. Now while I was standing there checking the natures, evidently we developed a fan club. Hello there. Oh god, run! While escaping from the mob, we fell off a cliff and died. It was a good run, I guess. Oh wait, our mobile phone saved us. The opposite of what it did to humanity. Anyway, turns out there's a legendary Pokemon just chilling on the beach, and feeding him a sandwich is all that he needs to be revived. Okay, buddy, I know we just became friends and all, but, where are you taking me? Well, it turns out he was taking me to a level 40 Houndoom right at the start of the game. Okay, impossible Nuzlocke, let's all go home. After Koraidon saves us, we get introduced to this 40-year-old middle school student who won't stop yelling at Koraidon for existing or something. With that out of the way, we arrive in the next area, and I spotted something in the tree. That's right, it's a new encounter as I smack it in the head with a Pokeball. It ends up being a bug type named Tarountula, which I catch and nickname Charlotte. Charlotte has a naughty plus attack and minus special defense nature, which I think should be good. Whoa, wait a minute. Bro, that thing is sick. That's what Tauros' shiny should have looked like, but a new form? I'll take it. We then reach the gate to the main city of the game, but before that, Nemona challenges us to another battle. Now after our last one, I was like, this'll be a piece of cake, as we send out our starters again. She went for Tail Whip to lower our defense, and then Ember does over half immediately. She then goes for Bite, and gets the flinch. Another one hits us, and she gets a critical hit at just 8 HP before we can take that damn thing down. Then, in comes Pawmi, a Pokemon I knew had been officially revealed in a trailer. Not looking too threatening though, as I switch into Charlotte. But then, out of nowhere, she activates the new Terastalize mechanic, which I think gives her like double same type attack bonus or stab, goes for Thunder Shock, and slams us down to just 2 HP. What the f***? Long story short, This thing outspeeds and devastates Charlotte immediately, then proceeds to hit Kanba to just 1 HP and paralyzes him before our tackle hardly does anything. Then she smashes both Kanba and Jack for the KOs on both, instantly ending our run. I was actually stunned at this. What just happened? As per Nuzlocke rules, with all of our Pokemon dead, I had to restart the game from the start again, this time picking up a Fuecoco named Pepper with plus defense and minus special defense, and a Lechonk named Abnock who had a plus special defense and minus attack nature, assuming minus attack isn't too good. But this time, I did a funny strategy in the next area by looking down at the ground, so technically the first encounter I saw ended up being a Paldean Wooper. I catch it and name him Willy, and he has an adamant nature plus attack and minus special attack. That should be amazing. No idea what this thing looks like when it evolves, but it's ground and poison, which is pretty cool. This time we have much better luck against Nemona's Sprigatito, taking it down in 2 hits, and then in comes Palmy. Here I switch into Willy, who's immune to her electric moves. Terastallizing is always a solid strategy.
Are you sure about that?
As it turns out, she only has Thundershock, so Willy is literally immune to anything she can throw at us, progressively taking her down with mud shots for the victory. Whew. Well, that's one way to go about that. That win allows us access to the main city in Paldea, Messagoza, quite a beautiful place if I'm honest. While exploring, I found this Delibird shop, and it turns out we already have access to some great items like type boosting ones, although they are quite expensive. Getting into a fight with some Team Star members, Nemona comes running and says, "You don't have to go find randos to battle. You have all the battles you'll ever need. With me." Alright, I'm getting a particular kind of vibe here. Long story short, this is where we get to Terastallize, and Pepper with the charcoal item attached using Terastal Ember? Just a monster. To add an extra challenge, I don't think I'm going to use this for the gym battles. Up ahead, we get to go to school, exactly what we want in a video game, and we're introduced to an oddly conspicuous character. Meh, I'm sure she's no one of importance. Nemona then marks all the gym locations on our map, a really cool feature actually, and hey, where'd you get that phone case? I want one. We then get all of the Titan locations from Arven too. I'm sure we'll find out what that's all about later. Now, we start talking to the principal, and he says that he has something for us, but oh my goodness, that is something indeed. Nothing like terrorizing a city while riding a giant legendary Pokemon, am I right?
Go crazy! Ah, go stupid! Ah!
In the next area, kind of a wasteland, we actually find our next encounter as there was this little dog thing staring at me. It turns out to be a Mastiff, which I catch and nickname Beethoven, and who ends up being a dark type with a brave plus attack and minus speed nature, probably half good and half bad. Shortly after, we then arrive in the next city called Cortando, quite a quaint looking place, and as it happens, it's also the location of the first gym. The gym challenge involves rolling an olive. Yup, I wish I was lying, although I must admit I did have a bit of fun here. As you can imagine, the gym trainers were quite a pushover, all having bug types, and during the process, Pepper gets a power-up in the form of the Incinerate move. Nice. The first gym leader is Katie, the bug expert, and I was feeling pretty good heading into this. She leads with what's called a Nimble, and I send out Pepper. I go for Incinerate, and she does outspeed with Double Kick first, but it doesn't do much as we Incinerate her for the immediate KO. She ends up having her own Tarountula, rest in peace Charlotte, and we outspeed and take it out immediately as well. Man, I'm feeling pretty good. In comes her final Pokemon though. Teddiursa of all things? Alright, I think I know what's going down here. As yup, she terastallizes it into a bug type. Craziness. She outspeeds with Fury Swipes, and it actually does a good amount of damage to us. I guess she keeps the normal stab too? As we get brought below half by 3 hits. Ouch. Then Incinerate doesn't even do enough with the charcoal attached. Uh-oh. Now, I spent a lot of time debating here, but ultimately our best choice is to switch. But she does have Fury Cutter too, which increases in power every turn it's used. I have no choice though, so I send in Willy, and she does go for it. Oh no, as it does 12 HP damage. She hits us again, and we survive on 13 HP, but our Poison Point ability activates and poisons her. Unreal. As we then hit a Poison Tail and get a crit, but she barely survives, but then the poison takes her down. Absolutely unbelievable. That was a miraculously close battle, but we pulled through for our first badge in Paldea. For winning, we get a sick reward too, as Pepper evolves into a Crocolore. That is quite the Pokemon, with the sombrero and all. Although I later found out this is actually a nest with an egg for, well, we'll find out later. Not gonna lie, I kinda see this thing growing on me. Heading east of Mesagoza, we encounter a rocky area and I spotted a new Pokemon, this time, a Knackley. Interesting. I catch it and nickname her Peach, and Peach has a hasty plus speed and minus defense nature, along with the purifying salt ability which prevents any status conditions and reduces damage taken by ghost attacks. Really cool actually. In a separate area next to it, I also find our own Nimble, the bug type that Katie had, who I nicknamed Natasha and who gets plus special attack and minus special defense. I'll take it. With that, we arrive in the next town called Artazon, and I think there is some sort of weird time dilation going on here. At least they have good taste in Pokemon around these parts though. I explored a bit north of the city for a bit, and while here I found a new Pokemon named Squawkabilly, a normal and flying type with a plus speed and minus special defense nature who I call Bert and who has Hustle, which increases attack at the cost of accuracy. However, with Stab Aerial Ace that can't miss, this should be a great combo. The next gym is grass too, but it turns out we caught Bert at level 18 past the current level cap. Damn. Regardless, I go get a great haul of items at the Delibird shop now that we have enough money, after which it's time for the next gym leader. The second leader is named Brassius, a grass type expert, and surely we'll be okay this time, right? As Pepper has a second gym in a row that he's got an advantage against, and he recently evolved too. Brassius leads with a Petilil, and Pepper completely wipes it off the map with Incinerate. Funnily enough, the same goes for his next Pokemon too, a Smoliv. Roasted olives, anyone? Then in comes his final Pokemon, his ace, Sudowoodo. Normally a rock type, it's too funny that they terrestrialized this rock tree into a grass type. Finally, his wishes come true. We do have to be careful though, as rock is super effective against us. Incinerate does about 2/3 damage, then he goes for Trailblaze. It looks to be a grass move, and I was like, why would he do that? But then, it raises his speed. Oh, I see now. We have no choice though, as nothing can take 2 attacks upon switch in, so we get outsped with Rock Throw, but Pepper tanks it on 20 HP and lands a second attack for the win and our second badge. Alright, a bit scarier than you'd expect with a fire starter, but no deaths at least. Oh, we also get a visit from an apparent Elite Four member named Hassel too? Huh. Our journey then brings us to this open field, and I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is that? Unfortunately, this was the same place that we caught Bert, but I still have no idea what that tentacle thing is. They're literally walking on the ground. Oh, hey Antler, how's it going? A couple trainers later, and Abnock ends up evolving, becoming Oinkologne. Oh boy, yep, just a straight up meme. Exploring one of the beaches, my wish finally came true apparently, as I found a dolphin Pokemon. I've been wanting one of these for years. It turns out to be a Finizen, which I nicknamed Winter, who has a plus defense and minus speed nature, probably not great, so I'll box him for now. Right before the next city, we get yet another team upgrade though, as Willy ends up evolving, and no way, it evolves into an entirely different Pokemon named Clodsire. I'm so happy the Wooper line is getting some love here, this is awesome. We then arrive in Levincia, another major city of the region, which is quite beautiful, having the mountains on one side and the beaches on the other. Now here, Nemona ended up challenging us to battle, and I was not ready at all. Thankfully, she leads with a Rockruff though, as I send out our newly evolved Willy first. She hits us with Bite, and instantly gets poisoned from it, but then we miss our Mudshot. Ugh. She then goes for Howl next though, so Mudshot does huge damage, and then she just double teamed repeatedly and we couldn't hit her, but our poison did the job anyway. Too good. In comes Palmy next, and we do have super effectiveness against this thing, but apparently it does too, as it uses Dig and brings us below half immediately, before we then hit a Mudshot for 2/3. I know what I have to do here, so I go for Yawn, and she just used Charge, so we hit it. And as I suspected, she could only hit us with Dig, so she had to go for it and get put to sleep while she was underground. Amazing. This then allows me to switch in Beethoven for the free KO with Bite, after which her now evolved Floragato comes out. Here I bait the grass attack as I switch in Pepper, who resists it, but she went for Hone Claws actually, then just hit us with Bite on the next turn before we brought her low with Incinerate, then her Magical Leap brought us below half before we ended the battle with a final blow. I think we managed that pretty well overall. Oh god, no. I never wanted to see her again. Also, at first I didn't realize this was just an overlay. I thought she was actually like 2'7" here. While training for the next gym, we have another evolution as Peach evolves into a Knacklestack. Looks interesting, but again, I think this might grow on me. Now while training, I was like, wait a minute, that bird looks to be a bit of a different color from the others, and it was a shiny Wattrel. No way, I couldn't believe it this early into the game, as it ends up being part flying and part electric. Pretty cool. Shiny Claws also gets activated here, meaning we can catch this thing as an encounter. Unbelievable, as naturally I name her Goldeneye, who has a relaxed plus defense and minus speed nature. Probably not fantastic, but hey, it's a shiny. A bit more training and another power-up is in store as Natasha evolves into what's called a Lokix, and I kinda actually like this thing as it ends up getting the dark type too. Cruising around in Levin's... Oh, well, hello there. Been hitting the gym? Speaking of which, let's hit up the gym ourselves. The third gym leader is Iono, I think that's how you say it, the electric type trainer, and is she getting live stream donations in the middle of our challenge? She leads with a Wattrel and I send out Peach to start. She hits a spark for not much damage, then I get the rock polish off to raise our speed. Now I can hit it hard with Smackdown, but she survives in the red, then hits another before we can return the favor for the knockout. In comes Bellybolt next, and this thing does have water gun, so I have to switch. I go into Abnock, who tanks it quite well, then we can outspeed and go for Dig as she misses her next attack. Dig hits, but it does surprisingly little, and her ability charges up her attack, and she gets a crit on top of that, but Abnock survives on 26 HP. Sheesh. Here I can switch in Willy though, who's immune to her spark, but then on the next turn she hits a super effective water gun. From there though, she kind of kept alternating between water gun and spark for some reason, so I could get up an Amnesia to raise our special defense a couple of times, and we end up with good health remaining as we take her down with a third Mudshot. In comes her Luxio now, and the best it can do is bite as we trade attacks with it with Mudshot. But knowing what's upcoming, I decide to go for Yawn with her in the red. We get hit low, then I decide to stay in and wait for her to go to sleep with Amnesia, and she hits us to just 10 HP before she sleeps. Close one. Here I switch into Beethoven now and load up on Home Claws to raise her attack while she's asleep. I get 2 off before then taking her down with Bite, at which point her final Pokemon then comes in, Mismagius. As expected, she terastallizes into an electric type, then hits a Confuse Ray. That's not good. Regardless, we make it through and land a Bite, but it only does 2/3. It's a big risk here, but I have no other choice right now, so I stay in, and she goes for Terrastall Charge Beam, but we tank it reasonably well, but she does get the special attack raise. We need to make it through Confusion here, and we do for the victory. Wow, that was getting increasingly threatening. Traveling onward, I was wandering around and I was like, wait a minute, is that a Pokemon? And it was indeed the Tumbleweed Pokemon Bramblin. I kinda love this thing as I catch him and nickname him Tumble, and he has a naive plus speed and minus special defense nature, with a really cool ability too. Happening upon a desert area ahead, I was wondering what all these ground formations were, and, well, I found out pretty quickly. A giant metal snake of some sort, which turns out to be the Steel Titan. I made the mistake of leading with Clodsire against it, terastallizing our ground type, putting the entire earth on our head and everything, and went for a ground move, but apparently it can't get hit by those. Interesting. That was a little bit anticlimactic. Putting it to sleep with Yawn was then key though, as we switched out with less than a quarter health remaining, then Pepper could handle it in a couple Incinerates. We then had to double battle against it with Arven after it powered up, and this time actually knowing how to deal with it, I led with Pepper, whose Terrastall Incinerate pulled us through quite cleanly. Alright, those might be a bit too risky to try along our gym challenge. Quite cool though. After that ordeal, and looking ahead, I decide to temporarily replace Pepper for our newly caught Tumble, and also Abnock for Goldeneye for now. I tried to recolor and make a shiny sprite for Wattrel, by the way. It's terrible, I know. Now this was a wild new encounter. This Bell Pepper dude with 2 heads, who I found out is named Scovillain, and who has the long-awaited Grass and Fire type. Too damn cool. I name him Gemini, and he has a plus defense and minus attack nature. Might not be bad. You know, sometimes you just gotta take a leap of faith.
Oh my god!
Alright, it's time. While adventuring south, I encountered a Primeape. Now normally you wouldn't think this would count as a new encounter, but I'm gonna catch it, as before this I had heard some rumors about this thing. I name her Amanda, and she unfortunately has a calm plus special defense and minus attack nature, but if what I've heard is true, it will be worth it regardless. We then have a couple great team upgrades as our shiny Goldeneye evolves into a Kilowattrel. Quite a cool name, I must say. And also Beethoven finally evolves too into a beastly looking Mabostiff. Mabostiff. Gotta say, he looks pretty clean. Before getting to the next city, I make sure to teach Goldeneye both the Volt Switch and the Tailwind TMs that we got, as I'm beginning to formulate a strategy for the next gym. I also did research as to how the heck I can evolve Tumble, and, well, it's fantastic. You have to walk 1,000 steps with him in Let's Go mode. Get it? He's a tumbleweed? As he builds up bigger and bigger with more material? Genius. Eventually it works as he evolves into a Bramblegast, a grass and ghost type. Definitely a favorite of mine, this thing is too funny. Tumbleweeding our way to our next destination, we arrive in Cascarafa City, where I maybe would live in this region to be honest, and the location of the 4th gym. The Asado Desert is right beside the city though, so I go to check it out and we run into a new encounter named Relor. It's some weird beetle looking thing, and if I'm honest, I'm not quite feeling it, so I name him Dim and throw him into the box. Okay then. Now that thing is a cool Pokemon. Utterly terrifying at the same time though. Okay, I kid you not, the next part involved retrieving a gym leader's wallet for him, so not much to cover there. Although Beethoven did go absolutely nuts now that he's evolved, taking down the gym trainers quite handily, especially with double power payback. Fast forward and we arrive at the Cascarafa gym where we have the water gym leader Kofu to take on, and I think I've come up with a wicked strategy for him. He leads with a Veluza and I begin with Goldeneye. Gotta love that shine. I go for Tailwind right away to raise our team's speed, and then he hits a Pluck for hardly any damage. I can then use Volt Switch for super effective damage to bring him to the red, and have him pivot into Tumble, who has the Miracle Seed attached. Now here's the key. With the Tailwind going, this activates his ability called Wind Rider, increasing his attack. Then I can hit the Trailblaze move I taught via TM, which takes out Veluza and raises our speed too. This way, even after the Tailwind goes down, we have a plus attack and plus speed Bramblegast, and he is invincible from there. Taking down his Wugtrio in a single hit, counterbalancing its ability to lower our speed by the way. Then in comes his Crabominable, which terastallizes into a water type. Trailblaze hits him hard, then he lands a resisted Crabhammer for 30 HP damage, then we can slam him on the next turn to win the battle. Honestly, I'm really proud of that strat, that was wicked fun. Moving forward, I decide to replace Lokix with Primeape for now, as we have the Medali City Gym coming up now. It's a normal type gym, and the gym challenge involves challenging a few people throughout the city, and the first one has an Ursaring and... oh god, kid, get out of there! Between those two Pokemon, battling is the last place you want to be. Turns out Amanda has some serious power even through the minus attack nature, nearly taking it down in one hit with Cross Chop, before then finishing it with a Seismic Toss. Training up some more just outside the city, Primeape eventually learns a key move, Rage Fist. Why is this key, you ask? Well, what we have to do is use it 20 more times in a row without healing at the Pokemon Center. So because it's a ghost move, a low-level part normal type like Igglybuff works perfectly. If you use the attack 20 times and then level up, that's right, Primeape can now evolve in this game into Annihilape, one of the sickest looking Pokemon out there, and a fighting and ghost type too. I've loved Primeape for so long, so this is so damn cool and so well deserved. It also has the Inner Focus ability, which also stops Intimidate now, so this might be key shortly. Oh, I also found the Leftovers item randomly while exploring Medali. Exploring is definitely worth it in this game. With that said, it's time for the 5th gym leader, Larry, the normal type specialist, and it's kind of funny, they made him a normal, average working dude. Checks out. He leads with a Komala, and I send out our newly evolved Amanda. With the Muscle Band attached, I go for Cross Chop, and we one-hit KO it immediately. Cross Chop does have great power, but only 80% accuracy, so we've got to be careful. Then, in comes wait a minute. Did Dunsparce? That's right, a Dunsparce evolution. We finally got one after so many years, and it sure is interesting. I was quite taken aback when I saw this. I had no idea, and I thought I just misread the name. I go for Cross Chop off the bat, but that thing survives it and hits a glare to paralyze us. Not good. Here I go for assurance to ensure accuracy, but he outspeeds and hits a hyper drill first, and gets a crit before we make it through paralysis to KO. In comes his final Pokemon, his ace, Staraptor, with the Intimidate ability, but our inner focus prevents it from lowering our attack. Incredible. He then terastallizes into normal type and goes for Aerial Ace, and we survive on just 10 HP, go for the super effective Cross Chop, but we stay paralyzed. No way. I'm forced to switch, so here I go into Peach to tank the next one quite easily. From there, we get hit with Facade, but Peach tanks it on over half, and then I get up the Iron Defense. With our defense now raised, we tank the next attack easily and then go for Rock Polish. With our speed now raised, on the next turn I can use Recover to gain back serious health before he hits us. From there, it was an insane grind, but with raised defense and speed we can continually Rock Slide this thing, then heal with Recover whenever needed, as we resist all of his moves. It was a long one, but eventually the Legend Peach pulls through, taking down his ace and winning us our 5th gym badge. Wild. Right outside the gym, without any warning nor time to prepare, Nemona then challenges us to battle with Gita watching intently. So much pressure. She sends out her newly evolved Lycanroc first, but fortunately we had Amanda out in front, so after getting hit by Bite we could land a Cross Chop for the instant one-hit KO. In comes Gumi next, and Cross Chop also slams it for the KO as well. Amanda, you beast. Her now evolved Pomo comes out, but we still outspeed and one-hit KO it. This is unreal. However, in comes her final Pokemon, her now fully evolved Meowscarada. Now, I'm assuming this thing is part Dark type, so I think this should go well as she terastallizes. She then goes for what's called Flower Trick, and it crits us and slams us to just 14 HP. And then we miss Cross Chop. Oh no, not good at all, terrible luck. But I'm like, alright, we have a couple Pokemon that resist grass, so I send out Goldeneye as she goes for it again, and it crits again, but we survive on over half. I have no choice, so I stay in hoping she does less than half again, thinking surely she won't get a crit again. But not only does she get one again, but it also does a higher range this time, and lands us our first death of the run, and our shiny at that. Ouch. It was at this point that I realized Flower Trick crits every time, doesn't it? I send out Willy, and we get smashed to a quarter, then land a stab super effective Poison Jab, but it doesn't do enough, but does get the poison. I have to switch, so here I send in Tumble, who resists grass, but it still does over half. This is complete insanity. At this point, after a lot of deliberating, I realize I have no choice, as nothing would survive 2 in a row upon switch-in, so I have to let Tumble go. That hurts a lot. And on top of that, this thing has 123 speed it turns out, so I have to let one more thing go, and I send out Willy as he gets taken down by another. But we do have one miracle at least, in that she did get poisoned, so the poison saves us from literally straight up losing the entire run right there. A double stab move that always crits on a 123 speed Pokemon in a battle that you're never prepared for and that you get locked into immediately after facing a gym leader? That's just unfair. 3 deaths on the board. Well, a party shakeup is evidently necessary, so I add Bert, Abnock, and Gemini to the team, keeping in mind what the next gym is. On the way to the next city, we find a Hardstone, great for Peach, and we also get to test out Gemini in battle, who does amazingly at handling Gastrodon with 4 times super effective Bullet Seed. In the same area, we have Peach reach her final evolution, becoming a monstrous Garganacl. Alright, this thing is straight up out of Minecraft on the overworld. Pretty cool though. Climbing up the snowy peaks of the mountains of Paldea, we find another encounter which we need more of at the moment, believe me, Citadel, which I catch and nickname Megalo, and who has a hasty plus speed and minus defense nature. We eventually make it to the highest peak in the entire region, and the view from up here is unreal. Climbing down the mountain has us arrive in Montenevra, where the next gym is, and I gotta say it's quite a cozy little town. In the gym building, we finally get the lucky egg, as grinding has been quite brutal until now. I also decide to add Megalo on the team, as I think it's a good idea to have some good bulkiness with us, and using an Ice Stone we found, we could actually evolve it right away into a beastly Cetitan, which I did see in one of the trailers. After enduring a rap battle, never thought I'd see one of those in a Pokemon game if I'm honest, it's time for the 6th gym leader, Rhyme. If I'm honest, we have a fantastic setup here as it's a double battle, so I send out Beethoven and Garganacl, and not only do we have Dark-type Stab on Beethoven, but also don't forget Peach's ability means we take half damage from Ghost types, and we have Rock Slide now, which hits both opposing Pokemon in one move. As it turns out though, this whole battle was evidently a setup to kill all the town's citizens, as Rhyme summons infinite of these Pokemon that suck the life out of people from what I recall in one of the trailers. Okay, not really, Garganacl saves half of us, and eventually we're able to smash her even through her Mimikyu and Ghost-type Toxtricity with this setup, with Beethoven on low health and Garganacl hardly taking much in the end. Probably our most solid battle overall. Along my travels, I encountered this giant bird that was throwing infinite balls everywhere, and, well, that's just not my cup of tea, so I'm gonna head anywhere but here. For the next gym, I make sure to get Crocalor and Lokix back on the team, and eventually we arrive in Alfornada, which looks like a kind of older style town. One thing that I found incredibly cool were these sprites along the gym tower. The old party sprites from the Gen 1 games. Such a cool throwback. I realized at this point we can also buy vitamins from the Chansey shop, so I make sure to buy some for a particular Pokemon of ours. We can now head up to the northwestern corner of the map too, and by starting a picnic with our Pokemon and creating sandwich number 80, we can increase our normal type spawns here, allowing us to get tons of Chanseys, which give huge XP loads and are fantastic for grinding. During the process, Pepper evolves into its final stage, a Skeledirge. Whoa. Aside from the graphical glitches, this thing looks pretty darn cool. It also becomes part ghost and gets the Torch Song move, an 80 power fire move which raises special attack every time it's used. Unreal. Back in Alfornada, we have another unexpected Nemona battle, and I only had 2 Pokemon with me to prevent level cap passing on the others. This is not good at all, especially after what she did to us last time. She leads with Lycanroc, and she goes for Sand Attack before Beethoven smashes her to the red with Payback. She Sand Attacks again before Crunch then does the job from there. In comes Sliggoo next, and she hits us hard for a third with Dragon Pulse before 2 Crunches take her down. Palmot then came in and landed a Thunder Wave to paralyze us, and we miss our attack. Spark then hits us hard, and we miss again. Why? We then get hit to just 12 HP, and we miss a third time. Brutal. I have to switch now, so I go into Pepper, and she went for Quick Attack, which doesn't affect us. Nice. We then get paralyzed though, but land a Torch Song. Thank God. She survives it, and then hits a Spark, but we land the Flamethrower on the next turn for the KO. But in comes her final Pokemon, Meowscarada. It all depends if we land our attack through Paralysis as Flower Trick hits us, but Pepper tanks it quite well with all the bulk from evolving, and then we land a boosted Flamethrower, and it's enough to do the job. Oh man, that felt so good. I thought we were doomed. Also, did she just say that that was an L for her? How Gen Z of her. Okay, this was hilarious. I was jumping around and apparently got awkwardly stuck on a post somehow, and the game actually reset me to the last building entrance. Weird stuff. I make sure to teach Natasha the Leech Life TM, and then it's time for the 7th gym leader. Damn, girl. Tulip, the Psychic type trainer. She leads with the Farigiraf, Girafarig's evolution, and I lead with Natasha. I go for Leech Life right off the bat, but it barely doesn't KO. I think my calcs were off even after the vitamins I used. So what I decide to do here is interesting. I keep spamming Agility just so that she'll keep hitting us with Resisted Crunch so that we go below a third of our health. That way we activate our Swarm ability to power up our Bug type moves. Once we get there I take her out, and then Swarm gives us enough power to be able to take down every single one of her remaining Pokemon to win us our 7th badge. But yeah, you could say we're a thing now. We then meet another Elite Four member named Rika, and then... wait, that's an Elite Four member too? What in the world is happening? Is there anyone who isn't an Elite Four member? What, is it the Elite 8 billion now? One thing I would definitely recommend doing is scouring the Asado Desert, as here you can find tons of Stardust and Star Pieces, really good for selling for some big cash. The reason? Well, the Delibird shop now has upgraded items like the Choice Scarf and the Expert Belt, each of which I get one of. The Glacido Gym in the mountains is the final one, and the gym test was actually a fun one as you kind of snowboard on your legendary to try and beat the par time. I wonder what the world record is. Knowing speedrunners, it's probably like -8 seconds by now. With that said, I attached the Choice Scarf on Pepper to raise his speed, and now it's time for the final gym leader, Grusha. His team, yes, his, has things like Earthquake and whatnot, so it looks scary, but with the Choice Scarf we can outspeed everything and repeatedly use Torch Song, which raises our power every single hit, blowing through his entire team with a stab super effective move. Beautiful. Along the final road, we run into, this thing? These things? I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna name it them, Mickey, and never speak of them again. In some good encounter news, hearing about it online, I went back to the Dali Zappa passage where we didn't actually get an encounter, and after a while we found a rare one, Frigibax. I catch it and nickname him Dimitri, and he has a plus defense and minus special attack nature. At this point, since we already have Dark and Ghost types on our team, I'm gonna replace Mabostiff for him. You did well, doggo. While grinding, Dimitri evolves into an Arctibax, quite a cool development, a dragon and ice type, just like Kyurem. A long while later, and we evolve it into his final stage, Baxcalibur, at which point he also learns the Glaive Rush move, which has 120 power, but does double the attack power of the Pokemon that gets hit with it. Had I known he'd look like this, I would have named him Barney. Back in Mesagoza, I find out that we can even purchase Nature Mints now to change our Pokemon natures, but at this point I settle on buying more vitamins as they seem more worth it. In a final act of preparation, I head back to the mountain to find the Liquidation TM, which I think is going to be crucial for us. After fulfilling the rest of our EVs and formulating our strategies, it's time for the Paldea Pokemon League. Okay, why is there a random Ultra Ball on the floor? Seems kinda sus. The first Elite Four member is Rika, the Ground-type specialist. Her team is actually quite threatening for ours since we have no obvious way of countering, but I have a bit of a plan. He leads with a Whiscash, so I send out Megalo. Unfortunately, we don't have any grass moves, but I go for Ice Spinner, and it doesn't even do half. But he misses Muddy Water. Nice. Another Ice Spinner brings him to the red, and then he hits us with Earth Power for nearly a third and drops our special defense, but our leftovers help before we can then outspeed and take him down with another. In comes Camerupt next, a huge threat to our entire team, but this is exactly why I got the Liquidation TM, as we can instantly KO him with a 4x super effective attack. Up next is his Donphan, and I know he has super effective moves, but we do have good bulk, so I hit him with Stab super effective Ice Spinner for 2/3 damage. Then he not only hits a Stone Edge, but also gets a crit to immediately take down Megalo. That is not good. Here, I send out Amanda, and I have to go full power due to Donphan's defense, so the close combat does the job, but does drop our defenses. In comes Dugtrio next, and I know we can survive even Sucker Punch, but he just goes for Sand Attack instead, so close combat annihilates him. Our final Pokemon is Clodsire, a painful reminder of the beauty that we once had, and I don't think Stomping Tantrum would KO, so I switch into Dimitri, and it turns out he Terastallized and used Protect, so we got a free switch. Alrighty then, as we can then land a Stab super effective Icicle Crash to one-hit KO and win the battle. Messy, and we had a death, but we got through it. Up next is Poppy, the baby that somehow became an Elite Four member. How was this even allowed? And she's a Steel-type trainer, so the natural choice was to send out Pepper with the Choice Scarf, and I used Torch Song against her Copperajah, but it actually survives, then hits us to nearly half with Stomping Tantrum. Sheesh. But that technically gives us another opportunity to power up our special attack to take her down. Then from there, we swept through her Bronzong and her Corviknight too. Then in comes her Magnezone. Now this thing has Sturdy, so it survives the first attack, but then just sets up Light Screen so we can hit it again to knock it down. Her final Pokemon is a Terastallized Tinkaton, quite an, interesting Pokemon, but even through Light Screen, Pepper has built up enough power to vaporize it with a final attack. What a monster! The third Elite Four member turns out to be Larry, yes, the same Larry who was a gym leader, and turns out he's now a flying type trainer out of nowhere, so his team looks a bit tricky, but I think I've got a plan. He leads with Atropius, who I was going to use Satitan for, but we all know how that went, so I send out Peach and use Rock Polish. Now here's the thing, because I knew that the only threat here, Solar Beam, is a 2-turn move, I knew I had a free Rock Polish and then could outspeed and slam with the Stone Edge for the one-hit KO. Then, in comes the Staraptor with Intimidate, unfortunately. I hit a Stone Edge regardless, but he survives on like 1 HP and then lands a critical hit close combat, but Peach's massive defenses let us survive it. Now, knowing that that was a critical hit, I knew I could outspeed and use a Recover, and I do this repeatedly until we have good health, at which point our next Stone Edge took him down. Altaria then survived one amazingly enough and hit a Dragon Pulse, but a second did the same to him. However, in comes Oricorio, and at this point I realized I forgot to use the damn PP-ups on Stone Edge, so I have no way to hit him. I have to switch, so I go into Dimitri. He did hit us with a crit though, and then an air slash to nearly half, then we missed Icicle Crash, then he confused us with Teeter Dance on top of all of that, but we made it through for the second attack to KO him. In comes his final Pokemon though, Flamigo, a part fighting type apparently. Here I switch in Pepper and baited the fighting move, which he did use, but apparently also has Scrappy so it hits us even as a ghost type. Huh. We then hit a Flamethrower after his defense drop, but it still doesn't KO, so he hits a huge Brave Bird, but we survive on just 19 HP before being able to take him down. Oh man, that was unreal. The last Elite Four member is Hassel, the Dragon-type trainer, and, well, remember that Glaive Rush move? 120 power, and the only risk is that the Pokemon that gets hit with it then hits us with double power, but I thought to myself, what if they don't have the chance? For that reason, I attached the Choice Scarf on Dimitri, and he simply sweeps through every single one of his Pokemon with a massive stab super effective 120 power move from a base of 145 attack Pokemon for the victory. What a savage. Also, after the battle, I realized you can access your boxes from inside the Pokemon League. Interesting. Couldn't we just, in theory, switch out our team with our other viable encounters? Hey, don't get any ideas, hardcore Nuzlockers. With the Elite Four down, it's time for the final Pokemon League battle against the champion, none other than Geeta. And what a setting for such an epic showdown. Her team does look quite powerful, but I kind of realized something about it after theory crafting for a while. He leads with an Espathra, a psychic-type ostrich thing, so I send out Natasha with the Expert Belt attached. We outspeed and go for Leech Life, and it's an immediate one-hit KO. Let's go. This actually baits out her King Gambit, which has a crazy ability called Supreme Overlord, which raises its attack stats based on how many of its allies have fainted, but it's Dark and Steel type, so a stab 4 times damage Axe Kick obliterates it. Then in comes her Go-Goat, and you guessed it, Leech Life destroys it, although we did get a crit. Then her Veluza comes out, a Water and Psychic type, and it suffers the exact same fate. Natasha is a powerhouse. Then in comes Avalugg. Because of its high defense, Axe Kick does less than half, then Body Press slams us to nearly half. I hit it again to the red, then she hits us again to the red, but because we can outspeed, we can land a final attack to take it down. Then in comes her final Pokemon, her ace, Glimmora. Another Pokemon I've never seen before. It's part rock and poison, so I switched into Peach, but she terastallized. Should have seen that coming as she becomes a pure rock type. This means that Earthquake does less than I was expecting after she slammed us low with an Earth Power. From here though, even though her ability threw toxic spikes everywhere, I can switch into Amanda who tanks an Earth Power quite handily, then tanks both a Dazzling Gleam and the poison on 50 HP left, then we can land a final close combat for the win and the championship. Natasha was definitely the MVP there. Man oh man. With the champion belt in hand, I was feeling pretty darn good. But it turns out it's not over yet as Nemona brings it full circle with a final battle to determine the true champion with an immensely difficult team to account for. After some grinding, it's time to show our stuff. It looks like I'm gonna murder her. She leads with a Lycanroc who gets up Stealth Rocks before Amanda, then misses Cross Chop. She then hits a Drill Run, and then we can land a Stomping Tantrum which does double damage if your previous attack failed, taking her down. In comes her Pawmot, who hits a Double Shock to bring us low, then Stomping Tantrum hardly does anything as I think that move makes her lose her electric typing. What a weird one. I have to switch, so I go into Pepper who gets hurt by Stealth Rocks, but she just went for Ice Punch and then hit us again with it, so Flamethrower takes her down. She then sends out Orthworm for some reason, so another Flamethrower devastates it right away. In comes Goodra next, so I take the risk and switch into Dimitri, and she actually missed Muddy Water, so Glaive Rush demolishes her. In comes a big threat though, the Dunsparce. I switch in Natasha, who the rocks hurt, and then she went for Curse to raise her attack and defense. Axe Kick doesn't even do half now, and Hyper Drill slams us, and we survive on just 20 HP. We don't really have a safe bet here since her next move will be a random one with us at low health, so I decide to just go for Axe Kick again, hoping for the higher range, but we don't get it. Then she Hyper Drills Natasha to take her out. Rest in peace, my grasshoppery friend. From there though, we can activate the monster, Pepper, for the Torch Song KO and the boost. Then in comes her final Pokemon, Terastallized Meowscarada. But I have nothing to switch into, so I stay in, and she goes for Shadow Claw out of nowhere. But we miraculously survive on 3 HP and can exact vengeance upon this damn weed cat with complete annihilation at the hands of a boosted stab, super effective Torch Song to become the official champion. Let's go. That was a wickedly fun adventure full of all sorts of surprises and challenges. I can't tell you how fun it was to play a brand new generation game, especially an open world one, and I can't wait to up the challenge even more with some monotype runs. I hope you had fun with the run, and if you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as it really does help a lot and grows our community. A huge thanks to my YouTube members and patrons who make these videos possible. If you'd like to support and get your name up here, the links are also down below. If you enjoyed, drop a like below to help the video out and leave a comment letting me know what kind of run we should do next, and I'll see you guys for our next challenge video.